Okay, welcome to the Office of Undergraduate Research Education series. Today's session is on crafting an effective resume or CV. And this is a virtual event, it's being recorded, but we ask everyone to mute yourself and turn off your camera to ensure the best experience. If you have any questions, please use the chat feature or unmute yourself when you're invited by the speaker. And this is the event evaluation. We would love everyone to complete this at the end of the presentation, but we want to remind everybody, remind the Europe, Wilkes, and early exploration scholars that you must complete this in order to receive credit for attending today. And the Office of Undergraduate Research, its mission is to facilitate and promote undergraduate, student, faculty, collaborative research, and creative works in all disciplines throughout the U campus. And we would like to acknowledge that this land, which is named for the Ute tribe, is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. The Ute recognizes and respects the enduring relationship that exists between many indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands. We respect the sovereign relationship between tribe states and the federal government, and we affirm the Ute's commitment to a partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities through research, education, and community outreach activities. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker. This is Laura Cleave. She's a career coach in the U Career Success.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Okay, well, just to get started, I'm going to give you a quick background on myself and also the office that I work with. So, my name is Laura Cleave, and I specifically work with students from the College of Science, but I am part of U Career Success, which services all of campus. We help with a variety of things, as you can see from this slide. And what I want to most highlight is that anybody can come see their career coach at any time to get one-on-one help with any of these things. Okay, so if you guys don't mind participating, I would love to see what your plans are after graduation. So whether you want to pursue graduate school, professional school, a job or career, or if you're unsure. Okay, everybody so far is going graduate school of some kind. I would love for anybody to throw in the chat specifically the program that you want to do. If you're going to get your MD, your master's, MD, PhD, all right. PhD in sports psychology, cool. Cardiovascular perfusion. Okay, awesome. Well, you can continue to throw those in the chat. I just wanted to get a good idea of who all is here so that we can best talk about the materials that you may need to enter graduate school. So we're going to start by talking about the difference between a resume and a CV. Oftentimes you'll see both of those things listed. So what, in fact, is the difference? We're also going to talk about what the purpose of those documents is. We're going to spend most of our time crafting accomplishment statements. So those are going to be the bullet points that go on your resume or CV, and they are the hardest part that takes the most time. So that's why I want to hit those very first. We'll then talk about content and formatting, and there will be time for questions. So the difference between a resume and a CV, a lot of it really is your audience, who you are submitting this to and what they want to see. So for a resume, this is typically for industry. This is for a job or a career. It can also be asked for master's programs. And it's typically 1 to 2 pages. For undergraduates, I recommend 1 page. If you go on to 2 pages, I'll talk to you about how to kind of structure that so that most of the important information is on that first page. A resume should be very focused on skills. So in a career, in a job, or in a master's program that tends to be more hands-on, We really want to see what skills you are bringing. You're going to give broad section titles so that you can maximize space and get as much information about yourself as possible onto that one page. And this is not going to include references. References are something that when you are applying for a job or a master's program, you will provide separately. CVs are different because here we're focused on academics and research. It's typically looked at for academic and professional fields. So this will be your doctors, PhDs, anything like that. So graduate school kind of centered is going to be the CV. There is no length limit on a CV, so we can include more detailed section titles and more information. References can be included on a CV, but they don't always have to be. Oftentimes those are asked for in other sections of an application, so you may not need them on the CV. So the purpose of a resume or a CV is that we're going to make a great first impression on employers or graduate schools. This is kind of the first thing that they see about you, and it's going to demonstrate a lot of different items. So your qualifications are kind of the basic thing that you're going to be communicating. But I really want you to showcase your strengths and your skills. In addition to qualifications, we'll talk about some of those differences. And we really want to highlight results and your personal accomplishments, not just job tasks that you have performed. So let me give you a quick example of that. Let's say that I am a server at a restaurant. That's great and valuable experience. Okay, I could include it on my resume or CV. Most people know what a server at a restaurant does. So listing that I am bringing food to customers is not really informative for who I am as an employee. Instead, I would like to highlight how many tables do I service? Am I very efficient? Am I, do I get a lot of repeat customers because I'm friendly and positive? There's not one right way to approach being a server. How I would approach it is probably not the same as how you would. And that's why it's important to include that as you're communicating this on your resume or CV, because it's going to show more about you and not just the job that you were doing. Okay, so resumes and CVs, we want them to stand out so that you become a top applicant. There's really three things that are key in doing that. The first is going to be that it's accomplishment driven. So again, that's highlighting your personal accomplishments, your skills, your results. Formatting is also a big part of it. And then we definitely want to customize the resume or CV depending on the job or program that we're applying to. Let's start with this accomplishment-driven statement. So I really want to work on this the most. And so we're going to do some practice, but what I'm looking for is an impact verb or an action verb. That's going to be showing me a skill or a strength that you have. Then your task is definitely part of this, okay? I want you to show me how you used that skill. What did you do to demonstrate that skill? And then lastly, and this is the part that most people forget, and it's what's going to elevate your resume or CV from good to great, if you can give me a positive result. Results do not always have to be perfectly measurable or quantifiable. If they are, fantastic. We will include those. But for customer service, for communication, for leadership, it's often difficult to show a quantifiable result for that. So we'll talk about some other ways that you can still show an outcome in a great way that's going to elevate that resume. So the first part of that accomplishment statement is an impact verb. Here's where you're going to talk about your strengths. So this is what I want you to start thinking about. Strengths come in a lot of different forms. First would be kind of my personal skills. How do I show up to work? Some examples would be I bring initiative, I start my own projects. Maybe I'm very empathetic. I'm very logical in the way I approach things. I'm a positive person to work with. These are all fantastic examples. And oftentimes, personal skills are things that we use in our lives, and we don't necessarily associate them with work or with school. They are still very positive strengths. I would say that empathy and positivity are great things to have in a workplace, even though they might not be directly tied to your qualifications. So here's an example of what I could write on my resume. I could use that initiated to show the skill that I have initiative, and then I'm going to give a task. So I initiated development of an SOP. We can also include technical skills. So these are tools that you use to do your job. These are much more in the qualifications realm, meaning that employers will say specifically to do this work, you need this qualification. Examples could include Python using Tableau. A lot of software and technology is going to be listed here. Also, laboratory skills or fieldwork skills that you've developed, those could be examples as well. So again, kind of putting that in a way that I would state it on a resume or a CV would be that I developed an interactive Tableau dashboard to visualize regional sales performance. So I'm starting with a nice strong action verb of what I specifically did. I developed this. Then I am including that technical skill and exactly how I used it. The last type of skills that I'm going to highlight are managerial skills. So these are essentially your ability to lead, your ability to work with people. Some examples would be mentoring, training, standardizing, teaching. These are all great managerial skills. And as an example here for your resume would be mentored 2 students in the Access program. Okay, so as we're talking about this and you're thinking about your strengths, one other thing I want to point out is when you are writing these on your resume, I really want you to show your impact and personal skill. I do not love vague action verbs like worked or assisted. Even though you did work on something, or maybe you were part of a project and you were assisting, that's not what I want to lead the bullet point with. As someone is quickly scanning down the page, they're going to see those action verbs kind of jump out. And what I want from those is more collaborated, mentored. Those are more specific words that show what you specifically do for a project or a task. So let's try and avoid those going forward. I'm going to give a few examples of strong action verbs. So strong action verbs come in a variety of ways. And as you're thinking of your strengths, if you say, well, I'm a really great teacher, rather than leading every bullet point with taught, here are some other great action verbs that you can show your impact as a teacher with supported or coached. They're more specific to what you're doing, and they also highlight those personal skills that you have that are much more specific. Okay, so we're gonna go into some breakout rooms Depending on numbers, we'll do 2 to 4 for our group sizes. I want you all to brainstorm some strengths that you have in any of the categories that we've talked about. And I'd like you to jot those down. We're going to take 3 to 4 minutes here. Let's do 4 minutes. I would love to hear from some of you an example of a strength that you have. Organized, great. Krista, I'd also like you to think about, and if you don't mind, where is an experience in school or in work that you've really been able to show how organized you are? Developed and programmed an athletic team. Fantastic. Ooh, punctuality and time management. Love that. Again, for anybody putting things in the chat, if you can now take it a step further and say, where have I used this strength? And give me a couple examples of that. It could be in a particular job you had, working as a volunteer, completing a specific course. Okay, Krista, thanks so much for adding a little bit more. So your organization, you've been leading 3 separate projects and showing those skills and keeping track of different stages, steps, and projected completion dates. Fantastic. That's very specific, and that is very good. So keep those things in mind as we move on to putting everything together and writing that accomplishment statement. Those are all really good and really specific items that you've done. Okay, volunteer experience at a clinic, helping patients with papers and getting new patients in quickly. Fantastic, patients love that. Really good example of where you've been able to use that punctuality and time management. So now that you have an example of a skill and we're thinking about how you've used that, this is kind of the harder part where we're going to talk about how do I add a result or an outcome. So I'm going to give some examples. The first one being with a personal skill. We're going to use the example I did at the beginning, but we're going to add some results. So initiated development of an SOP to improve training process and increase efficiency. So again, I don't have a quantifiable result here. I'm not quite sure, what this SOP is going to bring, especially if I've just developed it. However, I am showing why I feel that that SOP is important and what I am creating it for. And that does tell you something about me. It's important to me that training is very clear and that we are efficient as a team because everyone is well trained. All right, let's do an example for a technical skill. So developed interactive Tableau dashboard to visualize regional sales performance, enabling leadership team to quickly identify trends and communicate them to clients. I do not have a quantity here, but that's all right. I've shown a very clear result that my dashboard was effective, that my leadership team could use those results right away, and that they didn't have to spend as much time going through the data. They could just visualize that very quickly. And then for managerial skills, mentored 2 students in the Access program, ensuring they were comfortable asking questions to receive personalized help. Again, this shows something about me and what I value in that result or outcome. As a mentor, you can value many things and focus on many things and be a great mentor. For me, in this example, it's making somebody feel comfortable so that they come to me and ask questions that I can then answer immediately to get them the very specific help that they need. As a mentor, it could also be that I make time for my students, my mentees, or maybe it's that I give them a list of resources that I've developed. Again, there's many different ways to excel in roles, so I want to see how you specifically have done so. Remember to use those strong action verbs to show those skills. Okay, we're now going to get to writing your own accomplishment statements. So take a look at this for a couple of minutes. I want you to, we're just going to do one as an example. I want you to jot down the strength that you came up with, where you used that, and what your result was. Once you've done that, we're going to do breakout rooms again. And I would like you with your group to try and put it in a format where you're using your impact verb, telling us what you did, and giving us a nice positive result. One thing that sometimes people do here is you use personal pronouns. So that would be I, my, we, our. As a resume or CV is a formal document, I want you to avoid those. So keep it concise and see what you can come up with. Let's go to the breakout rooms and we'll be in those breakout rooms for 5 or 6 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. I would love for some people to unmute and tell me or put in the chat a full accomplishment statement that you wrote. Okay, organized multiple company projects, ensuring accurate completion of each within the proposed timeline. Wonderful. That's exactly what we're looking for. Punctually assured the secure and efficient discharge of outpatients while accommodating and ensuring the safety of new patients. That's fantastic. Just to point out here, you could start with punctually. You could also start with assured. You could start with secured, efficiently. There's a lot of different ways that you could start that. All are great because these are really specific words that we're using that can easily be used as action verbs. You can put an adjective before some of those. That one looks great. Organized a training session for 30 coaches to learn how to coach youth athletes more positively. Great. For that one, I love that we were able to quantify something and that you were able to talk about maybe not a perfect result, right? But this is what we are learning. And that is fantastic. That tells me about something that you value. You guys are doing absolutely great on these. This is the hard part of a resume or CV. That's why we've spent as much time on it as we have. So let's move on to some other things, formatting and content. So here's some food for thought. Most hiring committees and admissions committees receive many applications. What that means is that they are going to scan through these very quickly. So if you optimize your format, you allow them to do that easily, and they can quickly see that you're someone that they would love to bring in for an interview. So here's some basics of formatting. Most recruiters, committee members say that they like to quickly scan down the page. So sometimes columns and other things can make it harder because your eye just kind of naturally scans down a page when it looks like this. We're going to keep margins. The most narrow we're going to go is 1/2 inch. Font size, don't go below a 10. People have difficulty reading that. You can have a larger size for your name and potentially your section headings. I usually do 14 point for the name, and then I do like 11 point for the rest. Make sure you're using a very readable font. I like Times New Roman. Any of these that are kind of typical font choices are great. And then watch your line spacing as well. We want to give a little bit of white space so that it's not just a text block that's overwhelming, but we also really want to maximize the amount we're able to put on. So it's a little bit of a balance there. A couple of things. There are a lot of designer templates out there. I will say that there are some industries where a designer template is okay. If you are applying for a graphic design position, they may want to see some of that skill in the resume that you present. For most resumes and for all CVs, we're looking for something that's maybe not the most exciting, but it's legible and it's easy to scan through. One thing that I do want to mention is regardless of whether your resume or CV is going to be kind of that designer look, I avoid putting a picture or a headshot on that resume. The reason being that there is unfortunately bias in this world, and I want you to be judged by your qualifications and skills and not necessarily your appearance. We're going to use bullet points to just kind of make it, again, easier to scan. Those bullet points are going to be the wonderful accomplishment statements that you've written. Consistency is a really big deal on resumes. We want every section heading to look the same. We want spacing to look the same between sections. If you're going to add a period at the end of one of your bullets, add it to all of them. Consistency is just something that they're looking for. We'll talk about tailoring in a moment, but what I would really like here is, again, just making something that they're able to look through very quickly, and those action verbs that you're using and the results are really jumping off the page right away. Do convert this to a PDF when you save these files, and make sure that you use a really good name to save them. If you have multiple versions of your resume or CV, make sure you're attaching the right one. And then in terms of content, we're going to have different sections. For both a resume and a CV, I want a heading, education, experiences, and skills. I'll walk you through each of those. You can also add additional sections depending on your particular experience. For CVs, because there is no length limit, you can go more in depth and add things like honors and awards, grants. Publications and presentations are honestly great on either a resume or a CV. Typically, CVs tend to be more research heavy, and those are the folks who have more publications. So that's why it's kind of over there on the right. But if you have a great publication and you're using a resume, that is still fine. You can put that section on there. So for that first section, let me go. Looking at the heading. So I want your name and your contact information. For your location, city and state is plenty of information. We don't really mail things anymore. A LinkedIn is certainly something that you can add. Don't add it if it's not updated or something that you've worked on, and that's okay. You can just leave it off. And please make sure that you are using an email and phone that you are regularly checking. I actually had a student who applied for an internship, was offered the internship with their Umail account when really they only checked their personal account. And by the time they were able to get back to the person, they had hired someone else. So just make sure that that contact information is up to date and something that you check. Your next section will be education. I do recommend that this is the first section because that's what you guys are working on very hard right now, and I want it to be right at the top. So you're going to include all of these different points. Essentially, the biggest mistake I usually see is people putting a range of dates. I want your anticipated graduation date rather than the year you started to present. The reason for that is I want to know when I can hire you. You can include your GPA. That is optional. Depending on your industry and depending on what your GPA is, it may be required, it may not. It's something that you can add. Coursework is something you can add as well. I recommend this for students who don't have as much experience, or maybe your experience is not in your field yet. Coursework can really show that you're building those skills that will help you in your industry and field. For an experience section, if you're doing a resume and it's going to be shorter document, I would just call this experience. You could put in work experience, research experience. For a CV, you can break that into different sections because you are not limited by space. So if you want your research experience to be separate than your teaching experience, that is just fine. With any of the sections that are after education, I prioritize sections and put those that are most important closer to the top. Typically that's experience, but I want you to think about which sections best represent your skills, and those should be closer to the top. So for skills, a skills section should be hard skills. What I mean by a hard skill is it's something that's measurable and something I could potentially test you on. These are technical skills, they are laboratory skills, language skills. That's what I want, and you can simply list them here. Soft skills are fantastic. That's the organization and leadership that we were talking about earlier. Those are going to be in your accomplishment statements so that you're showing an example of how you used them because they are not as easy to measure. Other sections, these are completely dependent on what experiences you have had. Not every person is going to have every section, and that's all right. I want you, as you look through these, to say, do I have that experience? I'm going to add it. If I don't have that, I move on. Again, for CVs, there's certain things that really never fit on a resume, but can be added to CVs. So those are typically awards, grants, and professional affiliations. That would be like if I'm a chemist and I'm a member of the American Chemical Society, or if I'm a doctor and I'm a member of the American Medical Association. Those are things that I would put for a professional affiliation. Interests are something that are kind of dependent on industry for whether employers like to see interests. For example, in the finance world, people love to see interests. In kind of the science realm where I am, it's not as important, and you may want to include something else. So look at people in your industry, ask them, is this something that you include on your resume or CV, and you can make a determination. Here is a QR code if you would like to schedule an appointment with your career coach to talk more specifically about any of this and get individualized help. I also am happy to take any questions right now if you want to unmute your microphone or throw them in the chat.
I have a question from a registrant. What advice or guidelines do you have for putting unpaid or informal experience on resumes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for unpaid or informal, I'm going to go back a slide here. That could be your other section. So if you're unpaid and it's like a volunteer opportunity, I give it its own section called volunteer experience. If it's unpaid and it's an internship, I will put that under experience just because that is kind of a standard experience that's been arranged for you, even if you're not being paid. For other types of things like extracurricular activities, that again would be its own section. Another question that I sometimes get is if it's informal, maybe it's like a personal project that you did that wasn't, for a company or for a course, you can absolutely include that. Projects are another section that you could have. In that section, I'm just specific and I will say developed personal project regarding, and then you go into your accomplishment statements. So those informal experiences can very often be included. I encourage you to look at what is that experience and can I give it its own section or can I include it with other things? Oh, one other question that I had actually seen that was sent to me as well is if they ask for a resume or a CV, which do I include? I recommend a CV in those instances. If you get the choice, a CV gives them more detailed information. And so that's what I would do. Most graduate programs or employers will ask for something specific. They will say a resume or they will say a CV. But if they give you the option, I typically go CV.
Is there a resume format software that you suggest?
No. I would say with a lot of templates or other things, they're just not the most readable. Applicant tracking software is something that a lot of people are using now. It's AI that when you submit your resume, it kind of parses the text and it organizes things for people before they take a look at your resume. The more simple your formatting and document is, the easier it is for that software to parse the text and to also autofill some of your application for you potentially. It'll read through your resume and start putting things in where they ask for experiences. It saves you some time. So I would typically go that route. I usually just use Word, Google Docs, but I definitely have some students who have used other types of programs and it has worked. Again, you're going to save it as a PDF, and if it's coming across well as a PDF, you should be good. Okay, question in the chat. How will they know the difference between them? Resume and CV, I'm assuming. Again, most places are going to specifically want one or the other. I would say it's less common that I see that they ask for either. But if they ask for either, they'll know the difference because your resume will be short and sweet and your CV will be more detailed.
Thank you, Laura. This was a very good presentation. I learned stuff and I've been doing this forever. I want to remind everybody about the event evaluation. I'll put the link in the chat. The Europe, Wilkes, and Early Expression Scholars, please fill this out to get credit for today. I just want to remind everybody that the Office of Undergraduate Research is in the SIL Center, which is just across the parking lot from the Union Building. We're at our.utah.edu, and you can email us at our@utah.edu. So thank you again, Laura. We truly appreciate it.